Creative critical reflection. Question 3. How did your production skills develop throughout this project? During production, one of the first things I began learning was EduBlogs. It was a strange new website to me, but I wasn't afraid to explore the contents of EduBlogs. However, it doesn't mean that I wasn't constantly making mistakes. But with the time, I began to understand how EduBlogs works and started to explore designing blogs. At first, I didn't seem hard. However, I never really liked my first designs as they felt sloppy, and they were. But soon, I settled on a pretty basic format I can use often. Once we actually started to make our magazine, it was a choice between multiple software that I could use for Workspace Magazine. Ultimately, I settled for Canva, as it was a website I have already grown used to before and felt most comfortable using. With my previous experience with EduBlogs and designing experience, I wasn't so scared to start putting text on the page. I learned about flat planning and making diagnostics before finalizing the cover page for Workspace Magazine. Flat planning allowed me to review what I wanted to include in my cover page and help me form a base on which I can construct upon. You can still somewhat see the relations between the TOC flat plan and the final TOC. Then, diagnostics. One of the processes for me to take before finalizing the cover page. This process allowed me to see small mistakes and fix up arrangement before posting a product up. Overall, during my experience with Canva, I've learned how to design better. Seeing differences between the first flat plans and the finalized TLC really has me appreciate the decisions I've made. I've learned to allow the magazine design to have some white space while also discovering layering hacks. Layering hacks were my favorite part when designing. It allowed me to create complex shapes and designs to my magazine without having to go to an external program just to do that. Look, I've even done it with my magazine. There's just white boxes layered below the text but layered above the object, and over time, I grew the skill. Moving on, I've actually had to improve my drawing skills for some of the magazine. Before, I wasn't really experienced with drawing realistic humanoid figures, but as you can see on the advertisement page, this changed. I wanted to include a female character to the advertisement as it's supposed to represent one of the application's mascots, so I ended up using a popular mobile digital art app, IBS Paint. I already knew how to use this application before the magazine. However, I still wanted to learn how to draw more realistic human figures. I ended up practicing drawing humans to further understand how the head is shaped and displayed. But as you can see in the magazine, this was still drawn when I was still learning how to draw better. You can see small mistakes in the drawing, but that can be fixed later. I'm still practicing how to draw better. You can see I'm practicing. I'm drawing more poses than humans. I just have to learn how to draw facial features. You can clearly see how badly I drew the face here. Speaking of digital art, I've also had to get better at Blender. Before the magazine, I was already familiar with the computer software called Blender. It's even included in the magazine. It's a free, reliable modeling software. I've used it to model the staff and included the wireframe render on the magazine's TOC. I even began learning how to make better topology. I'm planning to create humanoid figures in Blender as well. I just have to figure out how the topology works. The topology is just referring to the edge flow and arrangements of vertices. I've made precautions and attempts to make the topology on the staff as best as I could so people can know that I actually know stuff about game development, while also trying to avoid making it look like just a bunch of random lines. Researching was also a big part of creating Workspace Magazine. Throughout, I've looked at multiple sources of information, not knowing which ones I could trust, and with my anxiety, I started learning on how to find trusted sources, looking for credibility, reputation, etc. I would sometimes notice a .gov on the website and learn about these .blah blah blahs, which told me which websites were extremely trustworthy. This allowed me to research efficiently without having to worry on whether the information I was consuming was actually reliable. It is especially important when researching audiences and demographics. Overall, I've learned a lot throughout creating Workspace Magazine, and I hope it does the best.